I have here. Okay, before I tell you examples, let me tell you some rules. So there are some rules. Not every as of now over here. I have here about hypothesis testing. First of all, what is hypothesis testing? And then we will able to understand why we actually need hypothesis testing. So let's try to understand why or what is hypothesis testing. Hello everyone. So welcome to this particular new module, which is hypothesis testing. Now, we have already talked much about the descriptive statistics part. Then we also did a detailed discussion on inferential statistics to discuss central limit theorem. Now, in this particular module, we will talk about hypothesis testing. First of all, what is hypothesis testing? And then we will able to understand why we actually need hypothesis testing. So let's try to understand why or what is hypothesis testing in first place. So now, hypothesis testing basically mean to test some assumption. So to test some assumption, right? Now, let's say there is a court. Here we have the judge. This person is the criminal. Now, when a particular criminal is brought to the court, the by default assumption. So when a criminal, and I would not use the term criminal is as of now over here because this person is not a criminal as of now. So I'll say when a suspect is brought to the court, the default assumption is that the person is not guilty, right? Because this is the default assumption. And I hope you guys know that the person is innocent until proven guilty, right? So this is the default assumption. Now, there will be another person who will be trying to present evidence to prove that this person is guilty, right? So the judge will listen to all those evidences, all those claims, all those statements, and finally judge will conclude whether this suspect is a criminal or not. So what will happen is, what the person is trying to prove, uh, the person is trying to prove that the suspect is suspect is a guilty or a criminal. So this is what the I would say prosecutor, or I don't know what's the correct way to call these person, but this is how this person, or this is what this person is trying to prove, right? Now, this is what a very simple example of hypothesis testing is. We are trying to test whether this person is is actually a criminal or not. This is what we are trying to test. Now, to do this test, we'll be required to have certain data points. Data points means as of now evidences, and these evidences will be presented in front of judge to make the conclusion, right? So the entire process of hypothesis testing looks like this. You will, number one, have certain assumptions. Then you will gather data. Then you will conclude. This is what a simple process of hypothesis testing looks like. Now, let's take one more realistic example. So let's say uh, example, and this is an example you guys can relate to. The example is Dettol claims that their soap can kill 99.9% of germs. Now, this is what they claim. Now, what you want to do? You want to test. You want to test. So, let's say this is you, and you are suspicious about their claim, and now you want to test, right? So, this is yet another example of hypothesis testing. You have certain hypothesis, you have certain assumption, and you want to evaluate that assumption, you want to test that assumption. Now, in the process of hypothesis testing, the very first step is to set up the assumption. These assumptions are known as hypotheses. So the very first step is set up hypothesis. There are two types of hypotheses. One second. Number one is the null hypothesis. The second one is the alternative hypothesis. Now, null hypothesis is basically that assumption which is the by default assumption. Basically, the particular statement which is truth, which is a default truth, which is known by everyone, which is believed by everyone to be true. So, default true statement. Alternative is what we are trying to prove. Simple. So if I go back and think about this example where we have a judge and a criminal. So here the null is basically the suspect is innocent, while alternative is that we want to prove is the suspect is guilty, right? If I think about this, the Dettol example, your null will be Dettol can kill 99.9% of germs. That's the truth that everyone believes. Alternative is Dettol cannot kill 99.9% germs. That is what we want to prove because I don't believe this particular number, right? Let's take few more examples. I have here. Okay, before I tell you examples, let me tell you some rules. So there are some rules. When we draft null and alternative hypothesis, there are some rules. Number one is null and alternative are always opposite to each other. Basically, they will always be opposite to each other. Just give me a second, guys. Second is in the case of null, you will find out sign such as greater than equal to, less than equal to, or equal to. In the case of alternative, you will get signs such as greater than, less than, or not equal to. Okay. Still, I'm writing. So actually, I'm not able to write in a straight line. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, no problem. I started as a wrong. Okay. So let's read the first question. A restaurant owner installed a new automated drink machine. The machine is designed to dispense 530 ml of liquid on a medium-sized setting. Now, what is the default truth? The default truth is, so question number one. Question one. The default truth is the machine is designed to dispense how much? 530 ml in medium size setting. 530 ml in medium size setting. Now, the owner suspect that the machine may be dispensing too much in the medium drink. Now, what the suspect, like what is the suspicion of the owner that the machine is dispensing more than 530 ml in medium sized drink? Now the person is wanted to test, and that is the reason person took 30 medium-sized drink to see if the average amount is significantly greater than 530 ml. Let's ignore the second half, which is they decided to take a sample. Let's ignore it. But the default assumption is that when you press medium button, the machine will dispense 530 ml. That is a default assumption. But owner is suspecting that the machine is dispensing more than 530 ml. So what is my counter or um, alternative or counter assumption? The machine is dispensing more than 530 ml. So let's assume that mu represents the average liquid quantity from the machine. If this mu represents average machine quantity from the machine, the null hypothesis is mu is less than or equal to 530 ml, and alternate is mu is greater than 530 ml. Now, you guys must be thinking why I have written less than or equal to. I'll tell you that. Before that, let me just quickly tell one more important point. The way we represent null hypothesis is using H0 or HO and alternative using HA or H1. So these are the way to represent null and alternative. Now, why I have written less than or equal to? Because you guys must be thinking I should have written mu is equal to 530 ml, right? And null alternative is mu average quantity is less than 530 ml. That is what the person believe. The reason I have written less than or equal to is because, see, when we talk about normal distribution, and if this represents 530, so when I say equal to 530, I'm talking about this particular line. When I say greater than 530, I'm talking about this region. But I am not including the region below 530, right? So what will happen if I get a result in this area? So in order to cover up this area also, I will say I am okay. My null assumption is that I am okay if the average quantity is equal to or less than 530 ml, so that I'm okay in this region. While I'm not okay in this region. So I'm not okay in this region, I'm okay in this region. That is the reason I always make sure that my null and alternative are opposite to each other. Right now, in this case, they are not, because it is equal to and it is less than. So I'm only talking about this part and this part. But if I go with this, I'm talking about the entire region. Okay. Also, please focus on the sign. So null will have less than or equal to. It can have greater than equal to. It can have equal to. Alternative will always have less than, greater than, or not equal to. Let's focus on next question to help you guys understand it better. E-health insurance claim that in 2011, the average monthly premium paid for. So let me start again. E-health insurance claim that the average monthly premium paid for individual health coverage was $183. So this is a default truth. So default truth is question number 2. The average monthly premium paid for health insurance was $183. Okay. Now, suppose you are suspicious that the average cost is actually higher. Now you are suspicious that the cost is higher than this. So alternative is, let me define mu as the average monthly premium. So my null is that the average monthly premium is less than or equal to $183, while you believe it is greater than $183. I hope this is now making sense, right? Let's focus on the third question. A survey was conducted to get an estimate of proportion among the graduate students. The report says 38% of them are smokers. Now, since report is saying that the 38% of smokers, this is my ultimate truth. So the null is report says 38% of them are smokers, while Chatterjee doubts the result and think that the actual proportion is much less than this. Now, one person believes the alternative is, one person believes that the proportion is much less than this. So now I assume that mu represents the proportion of smokers. Then H naught is what report says, mu is 0.38 and alternative is mu less than 0.38. Now, why I have written greater than equal to? Because Chatterjee believed that it is less than 0.38, right? So average is less than. So opposite of that will be greater than or equal to. I hope these examples would have helped you to understand how to formulate an null and alternative hypothesis. That is one of the very crucial part of the entire hypothesis testing module. The very first step that you need to be very clear with formulating hypothesis. formulating hypothesis. Now the next part is the reason of um, evidence. Basically, where we are trying to find out the evidence. Now, what I mean, let's go to the first question, or maybe let me draw. So, if I go to the first question, the question says the machine is designed to dispense 530 ml in the medium size setting. Now, you believe that the machine is dispensing more than 530 ml, right? If you want to, so null is machine dispense 530 ml in medium size setting. Alternative is machine is dispensing more than 530 ml. Now let's assume. So let's assume this is. Let's assume this is 530. 1 second. Now machine dispenses 530 ml. So what is my null hypothesis? Null is mu is less than or equal to 530. Alternative is mu is greater than 530. So basically, if you want to reject, if you want to prove that null is wrong, where you should get your result. Now, what I mean, let me do the let me help you with more process. So once you have set up these assumptions, you have two assumptions now. You have a machine. Now, when you press medium, the machine should dispense 530 ml, right? Now, you believe that machine is dispensing more than 530 ml. So how you will test it? What you will do, you will collect data. So you will maybe for 30, 40 glasses, you will just press the button, hold the cup or measuring cup and let the water fill, right? So let's say this is a machine and this is a machine and you will put your cup over here. This is a measuring cup. So this is your measuring cup and you will collect data. So let's say when you pressed for the first time, what was the amount of liquid that the machine dispensed? Let's say for the first time it dispensed 529.9. For the second time it dispensed 531.2. For the third time it dispensed 530.02 and so on. Let's say last time it dispensed 529.8. And I have done this task for, let's say, 50 times. Now I will take the average. So let's say the average came out to be 531.1. Now this particular value is on the other side, right? Basically this value is on this side. 531 will be over here, right? So if you want to prove that null is wrong, then where you want the value to appear? You want the value to appear, you want this value, your resultant value to appear on this side, right? So since I'm trying to find out the evidence on the right side, this is known as right-tailed test. Basically, if the alternative hypothesis gets you greater than sign, this is right tail test, gets you less than sign, this is left tail test, gets you not equal to sign, this is two tail test, which basically means if your resultant value is either on the right or left, you will say that your null is wrong. Okay, let me take another example, which was the average monthly premium. So the null says the average monthly premium paid for health insurance is $183. You believe that it is greater than this. Now, again, null is the average monthly premium is $183. Alternative is you believe the premium is less than or greater than, actually greater than $183. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll first of all draw the null and alternative hypothesis. So my null is mu less than or equal to $183 and alternative is mu greater than $183. Now this is my distribution, sampling distribution. Let's assume that this is 183. I'm randomly choosing any point. Now where you want your result after the test. So let's say now how you will perform the test. You will get, let's say, 100 people. So you will get 100 people who pay health insurance. Now what you will do? You will collect the data. Let's say person one is paying $200, person two is paying $190, person three is paying $180, and so on. Let's say person 100 is paying $200. You will take the average. Let's say the average came out to be $189. Now you want this value to be greater than 183 to prove that null is wrong. So where you expect the evidence to lie, you expect the evidence to lie on the right side. So this is again right-tailed test, and just focus on the sign. Since it is focusing on this side, which is basically this side, it is right-tailed test because you are trying to find out the evidence on the right side. Okay, now let's take an example where it is not equal to. So let's say the question is, let me just see if I can find out a question which is not equal to. Okay, so Lay's claim that the shelf life of one packet is 36 months. Now, FSSAI believe that the shelf life is not 36 months. Now here, the alternative assumption is that it is not 36. It can be either more than 36 or less than 36, but it is not 36. So basically, the alternative hypothesis is that the average shelf life is not equal to 36 months, while null is the average is equal to 36 months. Right. Now for this, let's say this is 36. Let's say this is 36. Now, you are going to reject the null if it comes on this side or on this side. You will reject the null if it comes on either side, either on left or right. But you are not going to only find out this. We will talk about what is the region of acceptance. There should be some region because getting exactly 36 is impossible, right? So there will be some region. Let's assume that this is 36, and we believe that this is okay. This is accepted. So anything which is below this, anything which is above this is not accepted. So this basically means null is rejected if the value, which is the value after the test, is beyond the acceptance region on either side. So either on the left or the right, if it is beyond that region, we reject. Okay. Okay. So this is how we decide the type of test. So we have learned two things till now. Number one, formulation. Number two, type of test, which is whether it is left, right, or two-tailed. Now we have to learn how to perform test. So let's see that in the next part. Let's take a quick break. Now let's try to focus on this question and let's try to solve this also. First of all, it is asking us to construct null and alternative hypothesis. So let's do that. According to the report, the average package of an IIT Kanpur student is $35,000. So the null is, report says, the average salary is $35,500 with a standard deviation of 4,200. This data is collected based on a survey that the college conducted on 140 students after the placement season on the campus. Sumit, a student in IIT Kanpur MSc program, was offered a package of 34,325. Now, he believes that the average package reported by officials are wrong and the average is different from 35,500. So basically, if we assume mu as the average package, then alternative is mu is not equal to 35,500, right? So Sumit believed that it is not 35,500, while null is that the average package is 35,500. Okay. Now we want to test it. Okay. So what we will do, we will construct the confidence range. we'll construct the confidence range. So here we assume that this is 35,500, and now we will construct a confidence range till what we believe that the null hypothesis is true. Beyond that, I have to reject null. So can we test it at a significance of 0.10? What is the meaning of this? The question is trying to say that significance level is 0.10. Matlab, for 90% of the cases, now since this is a two-tailed test, my rejection region will be on both the end. So this is my rejection region, and this is my rejection region. And the middle part is the acceptance region. Now, the middle part corresponds to 0.90. So please remember one thing. When we talk about a particular normal distribution, the entire area, which is the entire area. Let me use the painter. So this entire area is 1. Okay, let me just highlight. Right? Now, when we talk about right tail test, so in the right tail test, my right region is rejection region. Here I'm rejecting. So if my value after the test is going to lie on the right side, I'll reject the null hypothesis. So here on this side, we have acceptance. Then in the case of left tail, this is the rejection region. This is the rejection region. And this is acceptance. Now, in your question, when they say significance level, or when they use the term alpha. So for significance level or alpha, they are talking about the area of rejection. Okay. So here significance level is 0.10. So 0.10 is the area of rejection. Now, since it is a two-tail test, my 0.10 will be divided into two halves because normal distribution is symmetric. So here, from this point to this point, I'll get 0.05. From this point to this point, I'll get 0.05. Why? Because number one, we have a two-tailed test. Number two, normal distribution is symmetric. So I can simply divide by 2, right? Now I need to find out the value over here and here, the critical value, basically the confidence level value that we found out. Remember, we used this formula, mean plus minus z times of sigma divided by root of n. Now this mean is 35,500, right? 35,500. Now what is the z value? So to find out the z value, we know that I want to find out the z value at this point and at this point. Now let me just draw it over here. So I want to find out the z value over here and here. We know that this part is 0.90. We know that this part is 0.05. So to find out the z value over here, I will use Python and I will find out the z value. So what I can do is I can simply say norm.ppf point probability function 0.05. Okay, this is connecting. So I stopped using it. Let me just wait for it to connect. Okay, let me import. I think we never imported norm. Okay, let's import norm. So from scipy.stats import norm. So the value is minus 1.64. So here the z value is minus 1.64. Now what about here? So for here, I need to consider the area from here to all the way up to here. So it is 0.90 plus 0.05. So it is 0.95, right? So let's change it to 0.95 and I'll get the same answer, but plus 1.64. So here the z value is plus 1.64. So my z value in short is plus minus 1.64. My sigma, as per the question, is 4,200, I think, yes. So 4,200 and n. So the n is 140 students. So n is 140. Now let's put everything in the formula. So 35,500 plus minus 1.64. Sigma is 4,200 divided by root of 140. So let's use Python again. So my m is 35,500. Then my sigma s is 4,200. N is 140. and Z is 1.64. Let's calculate mu. So, okay, this is incomplete. Okay, so we haven't imported numpy also. Let's import S and P. So we have, let me write down the value. The value is 34917.85 to 36082.14. Now this is the range. So let me put the value over here. This value is 34917 and this value is 36082. Now what is the salary that Sumit got? Sumit got 34325. So 34325 is going to lie somewhere over here, right? Right, everyone? 34325 is over here. This is 34325. Now, since it is lying in the area of rejection, we say that the null, so the right way of conclusion, let me write the conclusion part. Conclusion is we reject null hypothesis. We either reject or we fail to reject. Now, this is an important note for all of you. We either reject or fail to reject null hypothesis. We never accept null or we never accept alternative. The reason is we reject null or we fail to reject null. Now, why we are rejecting null? We are rejecting null because we have enough evidence. Now, let me go to the criminal example. If I go to the criminal example, we fail to reject null means we fail to conclude that this person is criminal. But we are not saying that this person is innocent. We are saying that we failed to prove that this person is a criminal. We failed to prove that this person is a criminal, but we are not saying that this person is not a criminal. We are not saying that this person is innocent. The reason we are unable to prove this person as a criminal is because of the lack of evidence and lack of documents. So there might be chances that moving forward, I get more documents, I might get more evidences that may prove that this person is a criminal. But as of now, due to the lack of evidence, due to the lack of documents, I am saying I fail to prove that this person is criminal. I am not saying that this person is innocent. So that is the reason we always say we reject null or we fail to reject null. We never accept null. Is this clear, everyone? Great. Now let's solve one more question. So let me attach one more question. So here we have another question. Now the question is, you rent an unfurnished one-bedroom apartment in NYC, New York City. According to housenice.com, a website to list apartment, the average rent is $1,000 with standard deviation of 200. So the null is the website claim that the average rent in NYC is $1,000 with sigma of $200. You collected data of 40 such apartment listed. The average rent of your sample was 1100. Now your average was more than 1000, right? So what you want to prove, alternative is you want to prove that the average house rent in NYC is more than 1000. That's what you want to prove. Now, so what we will do is we'll assume that mean or mu represents the average house rent. Okay. Now the null is mean is equal to 1000. You believe mean is greater than or equal to, sorry, I am wrong over here. So you believe that it is greater than 1000 while it is less than or equal to 1000, right? Now how we will solve this? First of all, let's define the region. Let's assume that we have, so what is the significance level? Okay, so here alpha is not given to us, significance level. Let's assume alpha is 0.10, area of rejection. Where I will find out area of rejection? On the right side, right? Because here we have the arrow. So this is my area of rejection. This is my area of rejection. Now what I need to do is I need to find out this critical value over here. To find out this critical value, how I'll do this? This value will be mean plus y plus, because it is on the higher side. So mean plus z times of sigma divided by root of n. Now we have sigma, we have n, but we don't have z. Now how we will find out z? So if this is 0.10 From here all the way up to here it is 0.90. So let's find out what is the value for 0.90. It is 1.28. I hope that I'm right. Yes. So this is 1.28. So my mean is 1000 plus 1.28 times of sigma. Now sigma is 200 divided by root of 40. Let's solve this. So mean is 1000, sigma is 200, n is 40, and this is 1.28. And I only need the higher value, so I'll not focus on the lower value. So the higher value is 1040.4. So this is 1040.4. This is 1040. Now your value was 1100, which is definitely on this side, right? Your value came out on the rejection region. So we say that we reject null hypothesis. And we basically conclude that the company was wrong. The company information was wrong because my data suggested me that the average rent is more than $1,000. Let's add one more question. Okay. So the RK Housing Cleaning Services claim that they can maintain your home at an average cost of $35 per month. So null uh, average maintenance cost is $35. You are suspicious about their claim and you believe that they charges less than what they claim. You carefully monitor their, so if you assume you as the average charges, your alternative is that mean is less than $35 because you believe that they charge less than 35. Null is mean is greater than or equal to $35, right? Now you carefully monitor their next 35 services. So n is 35 and collected the data. You found that the average is 32.50. So this is what you obtain after the test. Let's draw the normal distribution, and significance level is 5%. So alpha is 0.05. Now, since it is a lower tail test, my rejection region is this. This is my rejection region. So this is 0.05. So I can find out this particular cutoff, which is mean minus z times of sigma divided by root of n, which is equal to 35 minus, let's find out the z value at this point, 0.05. 5. So it is minus 1.64. So minus 1.64 times of sigma. Sigma was 8.10 divided by root of 35. So let's find out this value. 35, 8.10. So this is 35, 8.10. This was also 35 and 1 point. Now I need to concentrate on the lower value. This is 32.75. So here, 32.75. So this value is 75. Now your value was 32.50. 32.50 will lie over here, right? Again on the rejection region. So we say that we reject the null hypothesis. That basically mean RK home services are costing lower than $35,000. Oh, sorry, $35. So I hope these examples would have helped you to perform the test. Now again, these were the Z test because we were using the Z method to perform these tests. This is also known as the critical value method. So all the questions that we solved was by finding a critical value. So this is known as critical value method. Now we will be learning about the t-test and the p-value method. So these were the two topics that we will learn. P-value, what is p-value, and what is t-test. And once we learn that, we will be able to solve variety of questions because these are the two important concepts when it comes to hypothesis testing. So let's take a short break. Now let's talk about the p-value method. Now to understand p-value method, first of all, let's understand what is a p-value. P-value is the probability that the null hypothesis is true. Now, I know this is difficult to understand in one go. So let's again do one thing. Let's take the question. I will take the simple question, this one. Okay. Now, okay. Now, again, the null and alternative hypothesis is something that is clear to us. So mean represents the average rent in NYC. The alternative hypothesis is that the average rent is more than, sorry, if it's more than $1,000, null is the average rent is less than or equal to $1,000, right? Now, if I draw the normal distribution, and let's assume that here in this question, alpha, which is area of rejection, which is also equal to significance level, is given as 0.10. Okay. So since my area of evidence is on the right, so this is the right tail test, let me draw this. So now I want to find out what is the area captured by the value that I have obtained. So previously what we were doing, previously we were trying to find out the cutoff, and if the value that we have obtained is beyond that cutoff, I say we reject null. Now what I will do, I will compare area with area. Now this is area of rejection, and now I will find out the area captured by the value that I have found out. So let's assume that here we have the value, and let's ignore this value as of now. Let's ignore this cutoff. I'll assume that my value is over here, 1100. What is the area captured by this value from the left? Because my area of rejection is also from the left. So from the left, what is the area captured by this value? So how we can find out? So let's find out the z value first of all. Z is x minus mu divided by sigma divided by root of n. Why sigma divided by root of n? Because this is my sampling distribution. Okay. So this is 1100 minus 1000 divided by sigma, which is sigma कितना है 200 divided by root of 40. Let's find out the z value. So 1100 minus 1000. I'll put this in bracket divided by. So this is 5. This is the z value that is coming 5. Now what is the corresponding? What is the wait a minute, 1 second. This should be 40, not 100. Oh, sorry. So it is 3.16. Now what is the corresponding area? So if this is 3.16, what is the area from this point all the way to this? So to find out this, I will again use norm dot CDF 3.16. So till 3.16, I want to find out the cumulative probability. So it is 0.999. So from here all the way up to here, it is 0.999. But I'm interested in the left side, right? So I'm interested in 1 minus of this, which is 0.0007. So this area, which is captured by the value that we have obtained, is 0.0007, and this value is the p value. So p value is the value that my data point is basically, or my result is getting us the area. Now this area is lower than alpha. So I'm saying that I'll reject my null if it is. So this is my area of rejection because it is 0.10, and this is only 0.0007. So since the area of rejection is more than the p value, now if my p value was over here, let's say p value was over here, so p value was greater than alpha, in that case I would have said that I don't reject null. But here, since p is lower than alpha, we reject null. So in simple word, you can remember this: if p is low, null will go. If p is high, null will fly. This will help you understand. If p is low, null will go, we reject null. If p is higher than alpha, null will fly, we fail to reject null. Again, might be this question is not clear to you. No problem, we'll solve one more problem. So let's again, or maybe let's just make a copy of this. Again, so my mean here represents the average maintenance, maintenance cost. So my alternative hypothesis is that the average maintenance cost is less than $35. Null is the average maintenance cost is greater than or equal to $35, right? Now, what is the significance level alpha, which is significance level, which is also equal to area of rejection. This is equal to 5%, which is 0.05. Now, I will find out the area. So again, let me plot my sampling distribution. Since it is on the left side, the arrow is on the left side, this arrow, this is going to be my area of evidence, right? So what is the area captured by 32.50, which you have obtained? Again, I will find out the z value corresponding to 32.50, x minus mean divided by sigma divided by root of n. So 32.50 minus 35 divided by sigma is 8.10 divided by root of 35. Let's see. So 32.50 minus 35 divided by 8.10 divided by np dot square root of 35. So this is my z value, minus 1.82. So here somewhere over here I'll get minus 1.82. This is my z value, minus 1.82. Minus 1.82. Now I want to find out the p value corresponding to this. So p value will be the area till this point, area. Now since it is on the left side, I do not have to do 1 minus. So I'll just say norm dot CDF minus 1.82595. Let's run it. it is 0.03. So p value is 0.03. Now my alpha is 0.05. So again, p is low, so null will go. So here p is less than alpha. We reject null hypothesis. Now I hope the two methods are clear to you. In nutshell, what we are doing is, in the critical value method, we are trying to find out the boundary value, and then we check whether the value that we have obtained after the test is in the acceptance size or in the rejection side. That's what we do. In the case of p-value method, we find out the area captured by the value that we have obtained after the test, and we compare it with the area of rejection. So it is area versus area, and if the area of the value is less than the area of rejection, we reject null. If the area of test is more than the area of rejection, we fail to reject null. So this is what we do. Now let's understand what is a t-test. So here the test that we have done is z-value test, because in all the cases here also we were finding out z-value, and previously also we were using the z-value to find out the critical value. So this is your z-value test. But what is t-test? And that will help you to solve variety of questions, even case studies. So let's take a small break. Okay, so let's now talk about the t-test. Now, why we need t-test first of all? Now, when we perform z-test, there are two conditions. Number one, either your n should be greater than 30, which is your sample size, or your population standard deviation should be known. Now, what if both of them are not possible? So what if n is less than 30 and population standard deviation is unknown? Now, in this case, we use t-test. So everything remains the same. The only thing is that we use t-distribution, which is very similar to the z-distribution. So this is your t-distribution. This is your t-distribution. Okay. Now, I will not go in detail about what is t-distribution, how we calculate it, but in z-test, the z-value is x minus mean divided by sigma divided by root of n. In t-test, t-value is x minus mean divided by s divided by root of n, where s is your sample standard deviation. Okay. Now, there are three kinds of t-test. Number one is known as independent, or I should start with one sample t-test. Now here what we do is, here we compare the sample mean with the population mean. For example, a scientist believe his pill can cure, can improve the IQ level among the students. He took 10 students to volunteer and gave them the pill. The average IQ level among students is believed to be 100. After taking his pill, the 10 students took the IQ test and got the average IQ of 102. Now here you guys can see that we have two values. One is this and one is this. This is your population average, right? So on an average, it is believed that the average IQ level among the school students is 100. This is my sample average. And this is what we have been doing, right? We are trying to compare the population average with the sample average. So this was my population average and this was my sample average, right? So after carefully monitoring the 35 services, so I have a sample of 35 services, and that sample average came out to be 32.50, whereas it is believed that the average cost for maintenance by this RK home services is 35, right? So this is known as one sample t-test, where we are trying to compare the sample mean with the population mean, right? Now, another kind of test we have is two independent sample t-test. Now, as the name suggests, it is two independent samples. There are two independent samples and we want to compare. So here we compare the average of two independent groups. For example, let's say a scientist believe that the average IQ level of girls and boys in a school is different. So this is what he believes. So to test, he chose 10 boys and 10 girls to volunteer. After a month, or after a IQ test, after taking IQ test, he compared the average IQ level of both the groups. So let's say for girls, the average IQ came out to be 101. For boys, the average IQ came out to be, let's say 100. Now, we want to test whether these two values are significantly different or the same. This is what we want to test. Now, the point here is that since we are working on two independent samples, because there is no dependency, there is no connection between the group of boys and the group of girls. Group of boys are different, group of girls are different, so there is no connection. So this is two independent sample t-test. Okay, we will majorly work on these two, one sample and two independent sample, but there is also the third one, which is known as paired sample t-test. Paired sample t-test. Now, in the paired sample t-test, the group is the same, but we are testing it on two time frame. So let's take example. For example, a scientist claim that his pill can reduce the weight. So what he did, 10 volunteers participated to take his pill. Now, this is weight before pill, and this is weight after pill. This is person number 1. So I'll say P1, P2, P3, and so on till P10. Now here, let's say the weight is 100 kg. After pill, it became 98. Here it was 102. It became 95, and so on. Here we will have some average. So average weight. Here we will have some average weight. Now we want to compare these two average. Now here the difference is that previously the groups were independent of each other. Here the person is the same. It is before and after. So basically we have two average value that are paired, that are connected to the same person. This is paired sample t-test. Now we will majorly talk about one sample t-test and two independent sample t-test, but paired sample t-test is also very important when it comes to research work. But when it comes to data science and data analytics, one sample t-test and two independent sample t-tests are majorly used. One very important thing I want to tell you is, so this is your Z distribution, right? Or let's start with T distribution. So this is your T distribution. Now T distribution eventually becomes a Z distribution if your N is approaching 30. Basically, as we increase the value of N and as it goes beyond 30, the T distribution becomes the Z distribution. So what is the advantage of this? The advantage is you can always use T distribution irrespective of whether you have sample sizes 30 or more than 30. So the advantage, we can always use t-test and t-distribution without worrying about sample size and standard deviation. Okay. Now, before we proceed, we have to also solve a few questions using one sample t-test and two independent sample t-test. So let's now take a small pause and let's try to solve questions to understand these two concepts better. Okay, so let's now solve a few problems. So df is equal to pd dot read underscore csv. Oh, sorry, I haven't provided the path. df, okay. df dot head. Okay, we haven't imported pandas. Okay, import pandas as pd. Now here we have two schools and we want to compare whether the IQ level of school 1 is same as the IQ level of school 2 or not. So what is my hypothesis first of all? My null hypothesis is that the average IQ level of school 1 is same as of school 2, right? What will be my alternative? Alternative will be the average IQ level of school 1 is not same as of school 2. Okay? Now, what kind of test I will use? Now, since I need to compare two independent groups because school 1 and school 2 are two independent groups, we will use two independent sample t-test. Okay? Let's use it. So first of all, I will import. So there is a function from scipy dot stars import t-test ind independent. Sorry, t-test ind. Okay. Now I will create two groups, right? So let's create A, which will have df. Yeah. So let's now here I will provide A and B, and I will say alternative is two-sided. Why? Because here we are running two tail test. I'm saying it is not equal to. If I write this in terms of mu1, so I'll say mu1 is equal to mu2. That's what I'm saying. And here it is mu1 not equal to mu2. So since there is a not equal to sign in alternative hypothesis, this became a two-tailed test because I'm trying to find out the evidence on either of the side. Also, let's assume alpha, area of rejection, to be 0.05. If it is not given, you can assume 0.05. Let's run it. Okay. It was IQ in small actually. IQ. So, one second. Okay, here it is a small s. So the p value is 0.02. Now, your alpha was 0.05. Your p value came out to be 0.02. Now, since p is low, null will go. Basically, we reject the null hypothesis. Okay. Basically, the two IQ levels, the IQ level of two schools are not the same. They are actually different. Now, let's see their average IQ level first of all. So I'll copy this and we have A and B. Let's see what is A dot mean and what is B dot mean. So one thing we are sure about is the average IQ level of these two schools are not the same. They are different. Let me write it down. So we are sure that the average IQ level of school 1 and school 2 is not the same. But now I also want to test. I also wanted to test if the average IQ level of school 2 is greater than school 1 or not. This is what I want to test. So what is the null and alternative hypothesis for this? So I'll first of all write my alternative. My alternative hypothesis is that mu1 is less than mu2, right? The average IQ level of school 1 is less than school 2. This is what I want to test. What is my alternative? Sorry, null is the average IQ level of mu1 is greater than or equal to mu2, which is opposite of alternative, right? I'll just do the same thing. I'll copy this, put it over here. But here, since on the alternative hypothesis, the sign is of less than, right? So I'll say, so here the value is 0.01. Again, let's write it down. My alpha was 0.05. My p-value was 0.01. So again, p-value is lower than alpha. So we reject null and we conclude that the average IQ level of school 1 is actually lower than of school 2. Okay? Then you can have greater also over here. So there are three inputs that you can provide to alternative hyperparameter, which is two-sided, less, and greater. Let's solve one more problem. So I'll just take this file. Just give me a second. Okay, let's take this file. Copy path. df is equal to pd dot read underscore csv df dot head. Now here, I want to compare the income of male and female. Okay, so I want to compare whether the average income of male is same as of female or not. So let's add the objective. My null hypothesis is that the average income of male is same as of female. Okay? Alternative is the average income of male and female is not equal. So in the terms of representation, it will be mu male is not equal to mu female, whereas in this case it will be mu male is equal to mu female, right? Now let's first of all find out the average. So A is equal to df. So A is equal to df gender male and female. We have A and B. And let's do one more thing. Let's copy this, put it over here, and let's why two-sided, because it is not equal to over here. Okay, again some problem. Here it is male actually. So male, here it is female, and everything looks good now. So now the alpha, again let's take 0.05. The p-value is 0.006. Now here p is low. P is lower than alpha. So p is lower than alpha, that means p is low, null will go, which basically means we reject the null hypothesis. That means the average income of males and females are not the same, right? That's confirmed. Let's see the average income of male and female. So A dot mean is the average income of male and B dot mean is the average income of female. So 56, 49, there is a substantial difference. Let's confirm whether males are earning more than female or not. So we again have I hypothesis. So my alternative hypothesis is that mu m is greater than mu f, whereas the null is mu m is less than or equal to mu f. So let me add some spaces over here. So my alternative is that I'm trying to prove that male income, the average male income is more than the average female income. Alternative is opposite of that, right? Now let's copy this, put it over here. Now since we have a mu is greater, right? So greater. Now why I'm writing greater over here? Because here A, what sign I will put in between A and B? Greater, right? So greater. Here, why I wrote not equal to or no two-sided? So let me show you this first of all. Why I wrote less? Because A is less than B. That's what I want to prove, right? So here p-value is 0.003. So my alpha is 0.05. My p-value is 0.003. Again, p-value is low, null will go. We reject the null hypothesis. That means the average income of males are greater than that of females. Okay. So that was about this particular module. But one thing you guys must be thinking, and every student asks me this, is what is the best p-value, or maybe what is the best alpha that I can take? So just to answer this question is alpha, which is area of rejection. Now, when you are trying to work on some critical data, let's say you are trying to work on, let's say some medical field where you do not want to reject the null very frequently because you want more surety that the new claim is actually true. So in those cases, I keep the alpha value to be more lower. so that the null rejection becomes difficult. So we keep it a low value when we want the null, we want a very strong evidence to reject the null, right? So you need very strong evidence to reject null, and that's when you are working on some medical cases. For most of the data analytics cases, 0.05 works the best. Like 0.05 is a very good value, we can work the best. Some cases, let's say marketing cases, where we don't want to be that much strict, where we don't want to be that much strict, we can go with 0.10. So these are the alpha range that you can choose. Now, how you can use this analysis or this t-test independence in your data analytics role? See, in often scenarios when you are trying to work on analyzing this data, you also want to test whether this pattern is actually different or not, whether the average income of males and females are different or not. Because looking at just the number, we can say that 56 is higher than 49. But is it statistically different? Because we have a smaller data. Right now we are working on a sample data. Is it true for the entire population? Is it going to be true for the entire population? So whenever we have to conclude, because we are working on the sample data and we want to conclude. So whenever we want to conclude, it is always good to use these tests and then conclude. Because like whenever you go to your manager with these results, then it creates a different impact that you have basically tested it and then you have concluded. Okay. So in the next module, we will talk about A/B testing. And A/B testing is about, and it is a very important concept when it comes to marketing analytics and when it comes to product analytics. But in the nutshell, A/B testing is also t-test. So if you can understand t-test independent, you can also use A/B testing. You can also play around with A/B testing. So in the next module, we will talk in detail about A/B testing. But that was all about this particular module. I hope you enjoyed. I will suggest all of you to please listen to these videos, work on these problems again, so that you guys can get comfortable and you guys can utilize these concepts moving forward. Thank you, everyone. According to A/B testing, some spatial terminology, this is known as. According to A/B testing, we will specifically talk about A/B testing. Now, A/B testing is a very useful technique when it comes to any product-based company. So now let's take one simple example. According to A/B testing. Now, A/B testing is a very useful technique when it comes. According to A/B testing, some spatial terminology, this is known as a control group. According to A/B testing, some spatial terminology, this is known as a control group. A/B testing is the version, and this is the new version, right? Now, I hope with the size of the circle, you can understand. Hello, everyone. So welcome to this particular module in which we will specifically talk about A/B testing. Now, A/B testing is a very useful technique when it comes to any product-based company. So now let's take one simple example. Let's assume that there is a e-commerce website. Now, this is one e-commerce website. E-commerce, or maybe we can give some name to it to be very much specific. Let's say this is Amazon. Now, Amazon want to test whether they should keep the buy now button and the add to cart button in left side, which is, so let me draw it, the two versions. So one option is to keep buy now and add to cart. So buy now, add to cart in the center. So this is option number one. Option number two is to keep it on the right side, which is, let's say this is the right side of the page. So buy now and add to cart. So this is buy now, add to cart. This is option number two. Now, this is the problem statement. The problem statement is Amazon wants to test if they should go with option one or option two. Now, A by B testing is nothing but it is basically your hypothesis testing only, but it is to a specific scenario. The scenario is when you want to compare two, I would say two versions or two variations of a particular product. So when the objective is to compare two versions or variation of a product. So this is version A and this is version B, and that is the reason A by B testing. Now, how we can compare? What is the process? Everything remains the same as we have learned it in hypothesis testing. The process is exactly the same, but only difference is that we conduct it in a different way. So let's understand some terminology first of all. First of all, Amazon would be having one version ready and live, right? I hope you guys will agree on this. There will be one option which is already live to all the customers. So let's assume that this is the version, current version, which is live to all the customers. Now they want to try out this version also, which is option number 2. Now they have two options. Either they can roll out option number 2 to all the customers. So option number 1 is, or one way is to roll out the new version to all the customers. But there's a very major problem with this approach. If the company takes this approach, then if it is not a good version, if this particular option is something which is not accepted by the customer, then the revenue of Amazon can be hardly or can be majorly impacted. So if the version is not accepted, or I would say if the version is not found fruitful by majority of the customers, then it might, or I would say it will impact the revenue and it might lead to loss, right? So Amazon definitely cannot roll out a new version to all the customers. They have to test it. And that is where A/B testing comes into picture. So right now this version is currently live. So they will take a group of people. So let's say from all the customers. So right now all the Amazon customers are exposed to this version. Exposed to option 1. But now what we will do? We will take a small group of people out of it. Let's say this is some 1,000, or maybe 1,000 would be a very small number given that Amazon has millions of customers worldwide. So let's say this is 1 million customers. And again, when you're performing sampling, make sure your sampling technique is unbiased. So here we have performed sampling, which is unbiased. And this is my sample. So we have 1 million customers. We have taken out these 1 million customers. And now I will expose them to version 2. So exposed to option number 2. So I hope you guys are able to follow this. So what we have done, the entire population was exposed to one of the version, but now we have taken a group of people out of it and they are now exposed to another version. So now you can think that we have two groups ready. We have two groups ready, right? We have a group A, we have a group B. Group A is exposed to option 1, which was the initial version. This is exposed to option number 2, which is the new version. So this is the existing version and this is the new version, right? Now, I hope with the size of the circle, you can understand that here we have more people and here we have less people, right? Because here only we have 1 million people and here it can be, let's say, 20 million customers across the world, or maybe more than that, right? Now, according to A/B testing, some special terminology, this is known as a control group, while this is known as a treatment group. Control group and the treatment group. Now, control group and treatment group are needed to be tested, or we need to compare it, right? So once we have performed sampling and we have created control and the treatment group, now we have to compare them. This is my next task, compare them. But there is a very important parameter that we have to keep in mind. Number 1 parameter is the group size or the sample size. So while we perform A/B testing, we need to keep some precautions, some pointers in mind. So I should write it as important pointers. Number 1, the sample size should be large enough. Now, what I mean by it, see, if you are dealing with Amazon, which is such a big company, you cannot go with a sample size of 100, right? I cannot go with a sample size of 100 or 200 or maybe 1,000. The sample size that I should choose should be a representative of my actual population. So it should be large enough. It should be large enough, right? So while you are choosing a sample size, always make sure that you have considered your business. So make sure you have taken into account your customer base. So let's say you are dealing, or let's say you are catering to 10 million customers, or let's take an example of 1 million customers. Let's say there is a small company. Their total customer base is, let's say, 1 million. Now, if I have to take a treatment group out of it, then number 1, I should keep in mind that the sample size is large enough. Approximately 10% of the data you should take. So around out of 1 million, let's say you have taken 1 lakh customers, which is 100K. 100,000. Second one is diversity in the sample, which I have already stated, diversity in the sample. Now, since you are dealing with customers, your customers would be from various age group, would be from various genders, would be from various region, would be from various income levels, right? So there will be multiple I would say, customer persona that would be in your customer base. This is your customer base. Also, then it will be according to products also. So while you are designing your treatment group, make sure that you have diversified your treatment group by considering all these parameters. So your treatment group should not be considering only one age group. It should consider all the age group. It should not be biased towards one gender. It should consider all the genders. It should not be biased to one region. So let's say you are dealing in Asia Pacific, you are dealing in American region, Europe region, Japan region. Now you should not basically choose the treatment group from one of the region, even time zone. Time zone. So these are some parameters which should be considered to make sure that there is a diversity in the sample, which is the treatment group. Otherwise, your test will not be that much accurate as compared to what you will get when you make sure that your sample size is large enough and it is diversified. That is one important parameter. This is very important. Like, this is also one of the interview question. What important parameters you should consider while designing your A/B test? The second one is the time frame or the time of test, which basically means for how long I should run the test. So for how long the test should run. Again, this again depends on the business. This is dependent on business. So what business you are dealing with? If it is an e-commerce business and you know that I can see the action of the customer in, let's say, one hour, then you can run the test for, let's say, few hours. So it depends on the action time of your target group. How much time your customer or your target group is taking to act on that particular version? How much time it will take? For example, if Facebook wants to test something, then the action time would be some few hours, right? Then action time would be few hours. But if, let's say, a company who is selling, let's say, some expensive products, let's say some luxury brand, or let's say some luxury brand, which is not so common, luxury brand, then in that case, the action time might be of, let's say, a week or maybe more than that. So basically, the point that I'm trying to make over here is you should decide how much time or how long you should run the test so that you are able to capture the variation. Because I want to make sure that this group, and this group has performed, has an observed variation. So if I'm not allowing this group to basically act on the new version for a given time, then this group might not show the action. And hence I will end up stating that these two groups are the same, which is not, right? So time is very important, how long you should run the test, right? Now the third important parameter is the iterative process. See, remember one thing, A by B testing is basically not one-time process. It's an iterative process, not one-time process, which basically mean, let's say you have performed basically the A by B testing for, let's say, a duration of 2 weeks, and you were able to not find any variation. So you basically, your A by B testing failed to show any variation. Then there should be a cooling time. You should wait for some time so that there can be a variation which you can introduce in your treatment group. So this is basically your cool time. You should wait for some time. Cool time. And then you should again run the A by B test, again 2 weeks. And then if it is again failing, then you should again wait for some time, and then you should run the test again, let's say for 2 weeks. Even if it starts showing variation, so let's say here it started showing variation. So your control group and variation group shows a, sorry, not variation group, it is basically your treatment group shows a variation. Then also you should perform it for one more time. This is your final test, again for 2 weeks. Now, why this iterative approach is taken? One reason is your audience might take some time to accept the new change. So it might take n number of iterations for your audience or for your customers to accept the new change, or even to observe the new change. And hence you should perform it for n times. So I hope this is clear to all of you. We have understood what is A by B testing. We have understood what is control group, what is treatment group. Now let's understand the metric. See, I need to compare something, right? So for example, this is my complete customer base. Customer base. Now what we have done, we have created one control group, which is exposed to the older version or the existing version. One is exposed, one is your treatment group. This one is exposed to a new version. But after certain time, so let's say you're running your test for a period of 2 weeks. So this is 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, what you will compare? What to compare? Because I need to decide something to compare, right? What to compare? That is where we have to decide the metric to compare. So what are we trying to test? So for example, if it is about the same example which we have taken regarding whether Amazon should keep the buy now and the add to cart button in the center, or should it be kept in the the right. So first of all, I need to decide what are we trying to gain out of this experiment. So what's the objective of the experiment? What's the objective of this experiment? Maybe the objective is to, it can be multiple things, right? It depends on what you are trying to increase. Maybe you are trying to increase the number of add to carts. Maybe you are trying to increase the average time a customer is spent on your web page. Maybe you're trying to increase the number of orders. Maybe you're trying to increase the number of successful orders. So it can be anything. Because you have to first of all decide what is the objective of the experiment, which basically means through this experiment, what you're trying to increase through this new version. So through this change, what we are trying to increase or what we're trying to impact. So if you're trying to impact that your customer should start clicking on add to cart button, then you should decide a metric that can be collected or that can be compared according to that. If it is about the number of orders, then you have to decide your metric according to it. So first of all, you need to decide what is your objective, what you're trying to achieve. Now, let's say we have decided that we are trying to achieve that the number of orders should increase. Number of orders. So people should click on buy now button and should place the order. That is what my objective is. Now, according to this, you need to think about the comparison metric. Think about the metric to compare. Now, easiest metric can be the change in revenue. So, for example, you can compare the revenue from the control group to the or with the revenue of the treatment group. This is one such metric. So here, first metric which we can compare is revenue, right? Then you can also compare, let's say, the number of clicks, how many clicks happened on buy now button, or the number of orders. Simple. We can also compare number of orders, right? So basically, I hope the process is clear to everyone. We have to first of all think about the objective, why we are performing the test. Then think about what we are trying to achieve through this experiment, and then decide the metric. Now, please remember, it is not a hard and fast rule to only choose one metric. You are open to choose and compare multiple metrics. This is what you're open and you can do this. But please remember one thing, there is a disclaimer over here. Please don't choose so many metrics that it becomes difficult to conclude. So as a sweet point, around 5 to 7 metrics to compare is a sweet point, So I'm going with 5 to 7 so that you are not landing into a problem of tie. So you should go with 5 to 7. So it is always advisable to go with multiple metrics to compare so that even one is failing, we are able to capture the variation through other. But not go with, let's say, 10 metrics or 20 metrics or 30 metrics. Then it will be really difficult to conclude, right? So what we have done, we have understood A/B testing, we have understood control and the treatment group. We have understood what pointers we should keep in mind. We have understood how to choose the metric. Now, how to perform the test. Now, based on the metric, we can perform the test. Based on the metric to compare, we can decide the test. So, for example, if this is my group A and this is my group B, and I want to compare the average profit or let's say average revenue. So I want to compare the average revenue of group A with the average revenue of group B. Now, since it is average, we have to compare to average. We can go with Z independent sample Z test. So 2 independent sample Z test we can do. Let's say I want to compare. So we have control group, we have treatment group. We want to compare the proportion of clicks. So let's say let's say I want to check whether people are clicking on my buy now button or not. So out of the 1,000 visitors, these are the total visitors. So in total visitors in A is 1,000. Total visitors in B is, let's say, only 500. How many clicks happened? Let's say 200 click over here, and let's say some 70 click over here. So again, we can compare this proportion, right? So this is control group proportion, and this is treatment group proportion, and we can compare. So here we can use 2 sample Z proportion test, right? So we are now aware about how to conduct the test. Now finally is how to conclude. So we have performed the test, but how to conclude? Now this is very simple. We have already learned about p-value, and this is what we will use to conclude. So the null hypothesis is that the control group is same as treatment group, while alternate hypothesis is control group is different from treatment group, right? Now, let's say after performing the test, my p-value came out to be 0.02 and alpha, which is significance level, was considered to be 0.05. Please remember, alpha is my significance level, which is what percentage of cases you will reject the null. And I'm saying that I will only reject null for 5% of the cases. So p-value came out to be 0.02. And as we have learned that p is lower than alpha, my null will go. So we will reject the null hypothesis and we will conclude that there is a variation. So using p-value, we can decide or we can conclude, right? Now let me show you one example in Python to conclude this particular module. So here, let's read the problem. You are the manager of an e-commerce website and you have recently implemented a new web page in hope of increasing sale. Now again, read the problem. What is your target? To increase sale. So my metric should be around it. This is my objective, to increase sale. To evaluate the effectiveness of the new page, you collected data on the conversion rate. Now we are capturing conversion rate. So here conversion rate is a metric of both old and new web page. The conversion rate is defined as the proportion of visitors. So for old web page A, we have 1,000 visitors resulting in 50 conversions. So you can assume that out of 1,000 visitors, only 50 people clicked. or converted or made a purchase, while for B, 500 visitors were there and 30 converted. So now I need to compare them. These are proportions, so I'll go with Z proportion test. There's a library in Python which is a stats model, and from that library I'm using proportion Z test, which will take the conversions. So conversions are 50 and 30, and the number of visits are 1000 and 500. I provided and two-sided. Why? Because my objective is to do a two-sided test, right? Which is in my alternate hypothesis, I have less than, I have not equal sign. So my p value came out to be 0.41. So p is high, null will fly, which basically mean web page A and B both are exactly the same in the point of view of the number of conversions. There is no such great difference, but it might be because of not enough visitors. So you should run this test for a little bit more time. It might be because of bias. Let's say web page B had not been shown to everyone in your customer base. So there can be multiple reasons why we failed to reject null. But as of now in this problem, we rejected null. So I hope this is clear to all of you. I hope this particular module was exciting and you guys learned something new out of it. Please remember one thing: A by B testing is a very important topic when it comes to companies related to product. So product-based companies are very much concerned about whether you are proficient in A by B testing or not. So this is just an introduction of A by B testing, but I hope this would have given you a very great clarity regarding what exactly is A by B test. So I hope this was useful. Thanks everyone.